Hello everyone, how are you doing? This is Daryl Guberman, CEO of Guberman PMC LLC, a quality consulting firm here in Connecticut. My background being aerospace, medical implants, materials, printing, and plastic distribution. Today, ladies and gentlemen, and the business owners, this video goes out directly to the board of directors at Boeing. In January, on January 25th, I sent a letter, confidential letter, to David Calhoun. I read that out loud. I read it on video. I must do it again for the board members because I just contacted the board members through a confidential video because nothing's confidential. You have to leave this out in the open on YouTube and other platforms. So let me just give you a little background about me personally concerning my education. It is as follows. I have a BS degree in business management. I worked in the aerospace community. They paid for the brunt of my education. They paid for it. And also when I worked in plastic distribution, they too also paid to enrich my mind when it came to education on plastics and metals, composites, etc. The first round we went is to the American Society for Metals in Menlo Park, Ohio, a fantastic organization. I'm not a member of it. I used to be a member, but during the time I was a member, being in aerospace, they have wonderful courses, and they still do. Whether it's a residential course, whether they come to you and train you for a week, or whether you take the modules and study independently. In fact, I'm the guy who changed the whole course of Sikorsky aircraft when it came to independent study. That's where I was. I was a blade shop inspector. I was there from 1983 to 1995. In 1992, I saw in Time magazine an article that discussed Bill Clinton's big thrust. The Soviet Union is all done. Let's get rid of 500,000 people out of aerospace. He started in 92 when he got in office, and it completed in 2001. I happened to be cut in 1995 after almost 13 years of being in the aerospace industry. I was grooming myself, educationally wise, to become the next vice president there. But sometimes fates have their flaws, everything else, and life turns you this way or that way. Now we have an opportunity to put our hat in to being the CEO of Boeing rather than doing the hierarchy of business, meaning this, ladies and gentlemen, business owners. Usually the board members pick their friends and put them in as the CEO. And as we've seen, David Calhoun is a perfect example of a man stepping down because he never knew the word escape after being there from 2009 to present. Also, in 2009, Boeing was made an FAA regulator. All of this information will be down below the video. He was also a regulator, which meant that they didn't have to tell the FAA anything because they are the FAA. They are. So the MCAS system that was failing with the Indonesian Air and also Ethiopian Air being 5 months apart approximately, crashing, okay, they didn't have to tell them about the MCAS system. Also, you have the factor that Boeing in 2002 on their supplier bulletin came out and said that if you are ANSI ANAB accredited on an AS9100 certificate for aerospace, just send us your cert, send us your parts, and Boeing doesn't have to go to your facility. That's number one. Number two is on their supplier portal. Boeing supplier portal says you must be ANSI, ANAB, or internationally equivalent. And number three is that they sit on the board of ANSI, ANAB. Board of directors that guides the ship, so to speak, and also the board that can grant, suspend, and withdraw certification. So Boeing has a constriction on quality, and we can see by the results that it's no good. So this is my education. I have a BS degree in business management. I have 10 technical certificates issued to me after taking courses and study and exams. And they are as follows from the Materials Engineering Institute, run by the American Society for Metals in Menlo Park, Ohio. Aluminum and its alloys. Corrosion. Composites 1, the basics. Composites 2, material selection and application. Principles of metallography. Titanium and its alloys. Principles of failure analysis. Fundamentals of non-destructive testing. Welding inspection, quality control. Mechanical testing of metals. Diplomas, composite engineering technology, non-ferrous metallurgy, testing and inspection, welding metallurgy, applied metallurgy. These are the actual diplomas that I received from taking those 10 certificates. Again, composite engineering technology, 1 diploma, non-ferrous metallurgy, testing and inspection, welding metallurgy, and applied general metallurgy. The other courses that I've taken, level 1 and 2 in plastics, films, sheets, foams, and laminates. Certificate, and this is from Hardcore Learning, Scranton, PA, certificate programs. Certificate in plastic adhesive coatings. Certificate in industrial plastics. Lean awareness and Kaizen training from Constep in Rocky Hill, Connecticut. Clean Harbors hazardous waste certification. The International Association of Plastic Distribution Company Plastic Certificate Program 1 and 2. Rensselaer Polytechnical Institute, Hartford Campus, Certificate in Quality Management. Now I'm going to read you David Calhoun's letter that we sent him in January. Did you hear from him? Neither did I. He had a lot of problems in January, as he has up to this point in March of 2024. Igor Sikorsky said, "The work of the individual still remains the spark that moves mankind ahead even more than teamwork." Personal and confidential. David, I am Daryl Guberman, an expert, 40 plus years within the confines of quality in manufacturing, aerospace, medical implants, medical materials, printing, and plastic distribution, where I dealt with all industries. I and my team have attempted to offer you and Boeing my services to assist in the rollout, dissemination, and execution of a global company-wide integral process and systematic quality improvement program. If allowed to improve processes and systems, I and my team will diminish quality escapes within 6 to 12 months by 60%, if not higher. Being involved in aerospace for almost 12 years, 1983 to 1995, I have built a balanced methodology over time through education and experience that, once implemented, Boeing's quality shall not be just cutting edge. It shall be admired throughout the industry and the world. I must confess, David, when I saw Boeing relinquish customer audits to ANSI ANAB AS9100 suppliers, I was astonished how a piece of paper was purported to define a company's quality for Boeing and ship the company parts without auditing was a poor choice. The decision in 2002 had ramifications that have precipitated in today's quality quagmire. Boeing Bulletin. In 2009, the FAA gave regulatory authority to Boeing, which in combination with the supplier notification of 2002 has matured into a clear manifestation of present and future disaster. Please, do not disregard the letter and attachments. I am giving you an opportunity to right the ship for Boeing. 2009, FAA grants Boeing more autonomy and certification. Attached are letters from customers who wrote them when I applied to ANSI for the Director at Large position in 2022. You'll also find a bio statement which will illuminate you to my personal and professional background, and I will tell you about ANSI right now. There was a man, Russ Cheney, who called me up after I exposed on a video an impropriety in laboratory accreditation. He called up and he said, "Half a nut, fuck you" to me. And I don't make this up. So what that means is that as he is a chairman, and you have David Calhoun and also Jim Tassett, David Calhoun from Boeing, and Jim Tassett there from Lockheed, they also sit on Boeing's board. That means that what Russ Cheney had said affects those two because they are board members. Whatever the CEO says, the underlings basically take responsibility as well. So it was like them saying, "Half a nut, fuck you" to me. You can't make this information up. I sent a letter asking for an apology to Joe Battia, who is also retiring in December 2024. He should retire now. He is not a leader. He is not good. And that is, we have all the defining data. He sent it to his lawyer, Jameson Carroll. Jameson Carroll wrote me back and said, "We didn't hear anything." So what I did, in October of 2022, I went down to Washington. I also went to New York. I didn't picket in New York. I went down to Washington and I picketed ANSI. holding up a sign that says ANSI says half a nut fuck you, because they do. And the reason why I say this, and you may be aghast to it, is because you have Daryl Patrick Shanahan, who was at that time Deputy Secretary of Defense. Now he is the CEO of Spirit Aerosystems, and their quality has a lot to be desired. And he had about 30 plus years on Boeing. But then he became the Deputy Secretary of Defense, and he said, and that article is going to be down below here, he said that when asked about the F-35 program, he said, it's fucked up. Well, that's not only fucked up, but the aircraft itself, after 801 F-35s being built, they still have escapes, they still have rejections on it, up to including loss of aircraft and loss of pilot. We're going to continue on. By the way, when I ran for the director at large, June of 2022, I got refused because you know why? Russ Cheney, the chairman, who said half a nut fuck you, which these guys sit on the board, he was a nominating chairman. Oh my goodness, isn't that a tender moment? Tender, isn't it? And at the time when he called me in 2019, I think he was making about $350,000 tax-free, ladies and gentlemen, plus his own company's money. So I will continue on with David Calhoun. My Boeing poem for quality, It Couldn't Be Done, by Edgar Albert Guest. Somebody said that it couldn't be done, but he, with a chuckle, replied that maybe it couldn't, but he would be the one who wouldn't say so till he tried. So he buckled right in with a trace of a grin on his face if he worried he hit it. He started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. Somebody scoffed, "Oh, you'll never do that. At least no one ever has done it." But he took off his hat and he took off his coat and he took off his hat, and the first thing we knew, he'd begun it. With a lift of his chin and a bit of a grin, without a doubting or quit it, he started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. There are thousands to tell you it cannot be done. There are thousands to prophesy failure. There are thousands to point out one by one the dangers that will assail you. But just buckle right in with a bit of a grin. Just take off your coat and go to it. Just start to sing as you tackle the thing that cannot be done, and you will do it. My suggestion, David, step 1, you should cancel your ANSI ANAB membership and relationships. Number 2, hire me and my associates to fix your quality issues. Number 3, issue a press release to get off ANSI's ANAB's board, who are underwriters for the International Accreditation Forum Incorporated in Delaware, and also the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation in Australia. Now, ANSI is the formulator of IAF. They formed it, assistant with ANAB. They made IAF, so they are an owner of IAF, which means they share liability by being underwriters. We have all data concerning them being underwriters. Boeing should be angry because ANSI, ANAB, and associates, IAQG, SAE, just to name a few, allow a false sense of assurance of quality from your suppliers to your aircraft. And that's all I'm going to say. And the last thing is by David Foster Wallace. The truth will set you free, but not until it is finished with you. And I leave it here, ladies and gentlemen, business owners, and the board of directors or corporate governance at Boeing. And remember this, it is not the droplet of water that wears away the mighty stone, but it is its persistence. And I will say this to you, the board. You cannot pick your friends and buddies. You need somebody who's going to be down on the floor with pride, assisting in the movement of that business, Boeing. Because if you don't, if you still try to keep the king and queen syndrome that exists throughout corporate America, Boeing will be lost and lost totally. For 22 years, they allowed a certificate to prove to them that that supplier is quality oriented because Boeing sits on ANSI's board. Boeing controls them. There's something wrong. My telephone number is 203-556-1493 or Daryl, DARYL, TQRS @yahoo.com. I thank you.